Of 27th of September. It's actually 89 days to Christmas Day. That's how exciting it is. It is a Friday, Feel Good Friday, the very last Friday of September, as Shiksha joins me on set. Karibu sana Shiksha. Karibu sana. Leo ni ile siku.
Yes.
Feel Good Friday. This is your first Friday you're doing on Morning Cafe.
Yeah.
So you are our weekend cue today.
I decided to give you company today, keep you entertained, get the Friday fever on.
Of course, big discussions happening throughout this week, especially with the expected or looming impeachment of the Deputy President.
Yes.
It is going to form the biggest discussion today on the youth perspective. And we want to ask the youth what they really think about this. There's also a proposal to increase the presidential term limit from 5
to 7 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I'll keep my comments reserved.
Anyway, State of the Nation, Hans Rop, Njerika Higa and Kimani Mwangi will be here in studio for this discussion.
Right, in case you're wondering what's happening from 8 to 8:30, we will be discussing all things mental health awareness. With me in studio, I'll have Lucy Mwende Kariuki, mental health advocate for Ajala Mobile, as well as Dr. David Okello, who is the Chief Medical Officer of Talia Psychotherapy. Now, this really is a big discussion, Fred, because, you know, we are seeing that the youth are suffering in general when it comes to mental health issues, when it comes to always finding that balance. And sometimes you just need to be told that it's okay not to be okay.
Oh, yes.
That's what we'll be talking about today.
Especially coming from immediately after, hot on the heels of that story where a young
medical
intern,
yes, quite unfortunate
said to have committed suicide. So matters mental health. And that reminds me, today you were talking about it being World Tourism Day.
Absolutely. Today is actually World Tourism Day. So in case you want to go to the national park, well, guess what? The government has decided to waive the entry fee. So you're not going to be paying anything to enter Nairobi National Park today.
Right. To see hyenas.
Yes.
Unaona fisi bure tu.
Lions, hyenas, everything you want, the national park is going to be providing that for you for free today.
Oh yes, plus it's a Feel Good Friday, so DJ Granite will be in studio to bring all the music your way. And Shiksha will be guiding that as well.
Absolutely. So it's going to be a good conversation with DJ Granite. Lots of trending stories.
Oh.
We have a very interesting trending video now. Indimuli, have you ever been to a matatu where they refuse to give you your change?
Oh, enough times.
All the time, right?
You know, you're seated at the back and then
yes.
you see the guy, you give him 1,000 bob, he's just disembarking, coming back, disappearing. New kanges come onto the matatu and you're wondering, hey, oh, jamani, pesa.
Exactly, Amanda Api. So that's exactly what we'll be watching today, because there's a lady who really just showed her frustration in that video that went viral, where she's just asking for her change. Okay. That's all she needs in life. Give me my change.
All right.
Have you watched the TikTok challenge? Just give me my money.
Yes, yes.
You have, right?
Give me my money. Okay, and then you leave someone hanging.
Yeah. So that's what happened to her. She was left hanging by the conductor.
All right, a quick look at the headlines today on The Star. Deputy President Rigathi, a dead man walking as D-Day fixed. And I remember how shocked you were just looking at this headline.
Yeah, I walked in and I saw the headline and I was like, wow, this is a very intense headline for a whole deputy president.
Well,
they're calling him a dead man.
Well, dead man walking, it's as good as done for him. That's what I'll say.
D-Day.
Yeah, D-Day.
Is around the corner.
Fixed. Next week on Tuesday, probably, because at least they garnered enough, actually more than enough of the signatures needed.
250.
And that was just to support the motion, not even impeach him. They did not need 200, they needed only 117. You know, a show of might tu ni kujipiga kifua. Ukijua unaweza piga mtu.
Just to make him tremble a little bit.
Chapa mtu mara moja. That's the Star.
The People Daily talks about the same thing. News tightens on Gachagua. DP's career on the line as 241 lawmakers signed the motion for his removal. Of course, this picture here, quite a sad one, because yesterday it was the memorial for the Endarasha kids. There were around 21 of them who lost their lives in that very tragic fire incident rather.
And you realize this is the same picture even on the Star. So on one hand, the deputy president's was juxtaposed with the memorial service because he was present
and a picture of him there, right?
Yeah, so it's the same pattern on the front page of the People Daily. On the Standard.
Quite similar as well. DP's allies face arrest as coup claim emerges. 5 allies of embattled DP Gachagua are staring at a date with justice after investigators have actually linked them for mobilizing, financing Gen Z protests. So now they've moved on from Ford Foundation to DP's allies.
And you know what? Part of that is meant to bolster their impeachment motion, because I think there were doubts about whether or not the accusations could really stand the test of a law.
Similar story right there. Emotions high for lost angels. 21 children who died in Hillside Endarasha Academy after it caught fire. And yes, may their souls rest in peace. Their memorial was actually yesterday.
And the Deputy President was present.
In Nyeri.
The Daily Nation goes with something different. The UAE link in Ruto Adani 485 billion shilling deals. So still on the heels of this Adani deals, just how many deals, how much are they worth?
Do you know, Inimuli, what the funny thing is? Yesterday on TikTok, I posted a video and a lot of comments said that, you know, I'm Adani's niece. I'd like to rubbish those claims.
Are you? Oh, okay.
I would not be here. If I was Adani's niece, I would be driving a Maybach somewhere in India. But yeah, Aurora, Adani were very different. All Kikuyus are not related.
Yeah, true.
All Kambas are not related.
And that kind of simplistic thinking.
Yes.
This is 2024.
Imagine.
The Daily Nation has done something brilliant. They've actually put all the pictures and names of all the 21 boys who perished in that.
12 to 13 years of age.
Very young boys, very young boys. Look at the innocent faces. And you can tell they were just budding, and it's a very sad story.
Very, very unfortunate incident that happened there in Endarasha. Kalonzo defends Gachagua amid ouster onslaught. Another picture right there of the DP looking very, very tense, very stressed out. Of course, the cover-up fears as Endarasha pupils are buried. What really happened? You know, has the government gotten to the bottom of it? There's cover-up fears. What exactly is going to happen moving forward?
Yes.
And this is something that we've seen time and again. It's not the first that we've seen the past few weeks. There's been a couple of other incidents, fire incidents that have happened and that we've heard of and we've reported right here on TV47. But really, does the government ever get to the bottom of it?
Meanwhile, we are distracted by Adani and Rigathi Gachagua's impeachment. Akabwa Ko ndio habari kuu kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Taifa Leo, anasema DCI yataka washirika wa naibu wa rais washtakiwe kuhusiana na maandamano, saini zikikusanywa kumfurusha. Ni habari kuu pale. Wametumia picha ile ile ya kule Endarasha, simanzi watoto waliokufa motoni wakizikwa sababu naibu wa rais alikuwa pale. So the Deputy President's was juxtaposed with the sad scenes at Endarasha yesterday.
We also had the Business Daily, where Kenya eyes UAE-backed 193 billion shilling debt as IMF delays. In fact, this entire week, Indimuli, we've just been seeing the top story right here on the Business Daily being all about IMF. The Treasury seeks to diversify financing options, and Sukuk bond seen as cheaper than the Euro bond. Now, in case you're wondering what that picture is, that is Meshach Miyogo, who is the man featured, and his story is about the path to success, which has always been quite an interesting one. So there was never any doubt that, you know, him being raised in a polygamous family in Mombasa would stop him from being a successful man. So yeah, we'll see what his story is. That is on page down there. Full interview on page.
Yeah, the physical copy here, page 13, page 19 of this paper.
So if you want to be inspired, if you want to make money, if you want to be a businessman, well, that story might just inspire you.
Let's cross over to Uganda and take a look at what's the big news this morning. NSSF versus the rest. Thinking outside NSSF, if you had money to invest, where would you put it? Matters social security. This is one of the questions that earners grapple with every day, with the announcement of an 11.5% interest for NSSF savers yesterday. We take a dive into what rates the market offers for people eager to grow their money in as far as retirement funds are concerned. So NSSF, of course, is the equivalent of the Kenyan NSSF, but there are other options as well. There are private retirement benefits entities as well, and that is the feature there on the front page of the Daily Monitor.
I really like that because it's quite educational. And of course, it gives you context of what to do with your money. Should you have some extra money to spare? And where does it go?
Yes, it's a different feeling from when we look at Kenyan papers. You would never see a story like this.
Ever.
Forward thinking, giving guys positive vibes. This is what you can do with your money.
I really like the Daily Monitor. I feel like the editor needs to be commended.
Oh, yes. We commend you.
We commend you
for the Daily Monitor. On the new vision, same story, NSSF, what 11.5% means for workers. So actually, it's clear. The NSSF tells you that once you put your money here, this is the rate at which your money will grow. In Kenya, you're not told whether or not you don't even know how much money you have. You've saved at the NSSF. You just know that your deductions are constant every end of month. Siku ile unaenda kuangalia pesa yako after retirement, unaambia, are you sure you contributing?
Are you 100% sure?
Yes.
Right down here, of course, we have President Yoweri Museveni, who is actually launching the 600 megawatt hydropower project and the Karuma interconnection project in Kiriandongo district yesterday. And of course, this is quite a big story. It's something that we've been seeing on the newspapers for the last few weeks. And I feel like this is going to be a game changer for Uganda.
True. And you just look at this paper. They're telling you about 11.5%.
Yes.
The rate at which your NSSF contributions will be rising, positive. Museveni launching 600 megawatt Karuma Dam, positive.
Tourism sector opportunities,
positive. Then independence, how formal education started, 62 years since independence, positive stories in Uganda. You come back to Kenya and it's just, whoa, DP Gachagua, a dead man walking. Anyway, let's take a look at Tanzania.
UAE links Ruto Adani 485 billion
it's just
shilling.
problems. Anyway, kwenye gazeti la Mwananchi tukivuka boda tuingie Bongo, Zito atoa ramani ya kuing'oa CCM mwaka wa 2025. So masuala ya siasa yamepewa kipaumbele kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Mwananchi, na ni masuala ya upinzani wakijaribu kuing'oa Chama cha Mapinduzi kutoka mamlakani kwenye uchaguzi unaokuja mwaka ujao. Masuala ya upinzani yazidi pale, Tigo yajitenga na madai kuvujisha taarifa za Lissu, and this was the opposition leader who's suing a telecommunications company in Tanzania for leaking his details. Meanwhile, Samia Kerwa na uzushi avaa viongozi mabubu. Gazeti la Mwananchi. Sometimes you can't even tell what this Swahili means.
I'm just looking at you and I'm hoping that you can be the translator. All right, that's the Citizen. Foreign power firm sues Tanzania for 1.3 shillings, that is trillion. Of course, this is Tanzanian money.
If
so
it
when
was
you do
Kenyan
the translation, well, you know, if you know, you know. Aqua Power Limited, a company registered in Mauritius, is seeking $500 million. Now that makes more sense in compensation from the Tanzanian government, which it accuses for discrimination, including unfairly denying the firm a license.
All right.
And of course, in red, we see it says lost business in quotes. That is a story on page 4. Imagine suing the government for not giving you a license because they believe that it was unfair practice.
You can imagine now if Adani's deal is cancelled, how much they would sue this government for, because there were agreements. And,
there were promises.
Yes.
There was proof,
it's
paperwork.
The same thing. That would be crazy. Anyway, let's come back home and take a look at the weather situation this Friday.
I feel like today is extra cold in Nairobi for some reason.
Well,
and super foggy as well. I don't know, something.
Is this Nairobi? Yes, in Nairobi, yes.
The fog today. While I was driving, I was wondering what is.
Well, it depends on where you're coming from as well.
Yeah.
So, because if we look at humidity and quite humid in the morning.
Yeah. So that probably added that added to the fog, I believe.
It's not as windy.
Yes.
In terms of precipitation, chances of rain later on, because you know yesterday we told people it wasn't going to rain, but yesterday it did. So
don't blame us, blame the weatherman.
On the overview, it's only sunny intervals and partly cloudy throughout the day, but okay, kulinyesha jana, it was like this.
26 to 27 degrees, and those are the highs that are being reported today from 2 to 3 p.m.
And because we're looking at the Saturday and Sunday weather, you can see thunderstorms. It means even today, chances that it might rain later in the day, just like yesterday, are very high. That's as far as Nairobi is concerned. Let's go to the other city.
In Kisumu, it's 20 degrees. Of course, currently as we speak, it's 2021, and then it moves up to 29. That is in the afternoon, all the way from midday, moving on towards 4-5 p.m. A pretty nice sunny day at the lakeside today. You can enjoy your fish.
More or less like...
you can enjoy a nice beer, maybe?
Yes, holiday weather. It is a Friday, yes.
Yeah. You're allowed one.
You're giving suggestions, but it's only 6:15.
Well, then, it's 7 p.m. somewhere in Dimuli.
It might rain between Saturday and Sunday, Monday. So yes, even today could actually rain in Kisumu. Marsabit?
17 degrees, of course, 6 a.m., 7 a.m. is what we're seeing, 17 degrees. But then later on, from around midday, 25 degrees. And then, of course, later on, 1 to 4, it's 28 degrees. So good sunny weather there in Marsabit as well. And then let's take a look at Lamu and let's see what's happening in the coastal city, coastal town. It's 25 degrees currently as we speak, but it does get even more hotter. The sun does come out to play at around 1 p.m., 29 degrees, all the way until 4 p.m. as well. So it's looking like a bright and sunny day. And let's check the level of humidity there in Lamu. Oof, it's pretty high today. Today's average is at 66%, and I'm sure the wind does not exist.
All right. So yes, as always, as we do every Friday, we have an editor from the Star newspaper. We'll be having a conversation with him. This shocking headline, a dead man walking. Yes, he's already on set. Karibu sana.
Please ask all the questions. I need to know why and what inspired that headline.
Why is he a dead man walking?
Yes.
This gentleman will be telling us more about that. But before that, let's take a look at today in history.
On the 27th of August 2010, thousands of Kenyans thronged Uhuru Park to witness the promulgation of the Constitution of Kenya 2010. This day remains historical to many as late former President Mwai Kibaki presented the sealed document high in the air for the nation.
All right, it's time for us to take a look at the daily newspapers. Of course, every Friday we focus on the Star, and today we're privileged to have Gordon Osen, a journalist with the Star newspaper. For this, give us that cue. Smart people read the Star this Friday. DP Gachagua, a dead man walking as D-Day fixed. That's a big headline on the front page of the Star.
Yeah.
Still shocking.
Still shocked. I want details. I want this headline to be dissected.
Gordon Osen, journalist with the Star, Karibu sana.
Thank you very much.
And yes, Shiksha here is shocked by this headline. And I know it is more or less the same. DP is, I think it's the People Daily that talked about a tightening news around Gachagua.
News tightens.
Dead man walking, D-Day, what exactly are we talking about here?
Tightening news and death, more or less the same thing. You know, you can always trust the Star to call it as it is. And use language that is painting the picture of what is. If you read the stories about the reality that the signatures is already been collected, you know, they kind of loaded and ready to fire. So, yeah.
But then again, it's how morbid the headline is. Because death, D-Day, it's just an impeachment.
Political death, man. You know, when you're removed, assuming he's removed eventually, he'll be off current residence. He'll be not flying the flag anymore. And remember that our deputy president, this was a one-term MP and a first-term one for that matter. So should he be removed? And we know what impeachment did to Sonko and also to Waititu, you know, the implication. And actually Sonko litigated this to Supreme Court, which upheld that if you've been impeached, you are not eligible to hold public office.
In future.
So it's kind of death of a political career.
But then again, Gordon, if you look at it this way, yesterday the signatures collected, 250 of them, according to the Star.
Yes.
They were simply to support the motion, not necessarily to impeach him.
Yeah.
They only needed about 117. For them to insist on getting 250, they were going overboard. Is it just a show of might? Are they trying to scare the president into probably resigning so that he does not get impeached before the impeachment itself?
The politics is about drama, you know. So when you go to war and you show force, you kind of, it could be a statement to Gachagua to retreat in terms of his verbal diatribe he's been to against giving threats to the president, to their political group, and the war path has been. Remember in the other interview in the other television channel, he had promised that he would embark on a ground tour on Kenya, so to speak, to poison the ground president and his allies. So I suspect that they went for this number just to tell him that, man, we are ready for this, and we have the numbers much more than you think. So you either retreat, you cooperate to the line, or we go for your jail.
Because we've also seen the kind of verbalized threats against the deputy president.
Yes.
Tutakutoa, we will impeach you. And Uganda, if at all you're in a fight, and you know very well that you have the muscle and you can beat up someone, do you shout just like that? Do you keep on shouting and threatening how you will beat up the guy? So you just go ahead and beat him up?
Politics, as I told you, politics is about drama. It's about drama. You dramatize the things. You scare your target, and you also tell the public that even if you're whipped to supporting this man, you don't have the numbers. Here we will do it. We remember during the finance bill legislation, members of the public their voices were overwhelming against the bill. But we look at the signatures that were supporting it. Politicians pursue their interest to the very last nail, and I think the reason why they shout about it is also to drown the noise out of Gachagua's team, so to speak.
And then 250 MPs, that's definitely a super majority in the National Assembly. That says a lot, especially about the relationship now, the newfound relationship between Kenya Kwanza and ODM. Do you see this kind of alliance or convergence of might going on, and for how long?
Politicians are always on the same side or different sides depending on where the interests lie. So I think at this point in time, their interests are convergent. And I think it will continue as long as their interests remain convergent. And for right now, for ODM people, their interest is for Raila's AUC bid and whatever other interest that might come. I suspect, my own suspicion is that they also have an eye to the next election, because if the president loses support from Mount Kenya, he will need to plug in that hole. And the hole that, the plug that we'll most likely use is the support base from ODM zones. You know, Raila always come with his house intact. So I suspect that going to the next election, they will just raise up the ante for their bargaining chip.
It could also mean that they might claim their pound of flesh from Kenya Kwanza, especially now with the vacancy that could be created with this impeachment. You see ODM demanding for the number 2 slot going forward.
I don't think they will do it before this election, before the next election. But I think going to the next election, I think their hands will be strengthened. Because right now, if you read the story, if actually ODM people are thronging the office of Junet Mohammed, the Labour minority leader, to sign up.
They're pretty excited at...
yeah, they're pretty much excited because, you know, they're like high and hoping that a hand will drop. But they are all insisting that they will not draft the motion, they will not be the one moving the motion, they will either second it, but not be the one fronting it, because they know what optics works against them. But going to the next election, I think they will use that. The see, we saved you in your fights, it's your turn to return the hand. Yeah.
All right. And still on that, because you say definitely they look excited, like a hyena just waiting for their hand to drop. Why don't you think that they will actually claim that space now? They have to wait for 3 years. February next year, it could go either way. If Raila loses, could the dynamics change?
I don't think it would be politically decent, so to speak, because Kenya Kwanza had the mandate from the people. They did not. The mandate to govern was handed to UDA, President Ruto and his allies, and not to ODM and the kind of politics they do. But I think going to, if there must be a change at the top of the ticket, or at that level, at the presidential level, I think it will be politically, it will be political malfeasance if they demand a change at this point. They would go for the next election, and I think at that point they would make their demands for bargaining.
There's a different angle to this story, and if you look at, I think it's one of the dailies, I don't know if you've captured it in your story, I think it's the Standard that talked about it, the fact that the deputy president's allies are now being investigated for a possible coup plot. Could this be an admission by Kenya Kwanza that the initial charges or accusations that they were to use for this impeachment probably were not as strong, and they've had to look for more evidence to support their claim?
In legal parlance, they call it fishing expedition. I think they're in a fishing expedition for evidence, for grounds, for everything. And in fact, if you look at our story, there's an MP who doesn't want to be known, to be mentioned, but he says specifically, we don't have the grounds, but we have to continue digging. So they have the target, they're digging to find out where will we find. So it's a fishing expedition. Of course, this is politics, man. It's politics, using impeachment as a tool of politics. Yes. It's unfortunate, but because the framers of the Constitution believe that impeachment should be a tool for accountability, not for politics.
Okay.
Yeah.
And of course, many people believe that not many people, actually, it is the very first time that we are attempting to impeach a deputy president. This has yet to be tested before. There's a lot of excitement because of the numbers and how they're playing out in Parliament. But do you believe it's a done deal? Or do you see things changing? And has your story captured the fact that it's not an easy thing to impeach a deputy president?
Exactly, it's not a done deal because, in fact, if you follow a lot of what happens in the global sphere and the social sphere, we saw lawyer Ahmed Nasir suggest that the deputy president could actually resign before he's impeached because of the implications of impeachment. As I said, the Supreme Court upheld in the case of Sonko and Waititu. In fact, Waititu had to be removed from the Nairobi River Commission, remember, because of impeachment. So impeachment kind of deals a death knell to your professional career. So I suspect that he may resign, but we are not there yet. They may even negotiate out of this and say, let's leave the man.
Do you think that Kenya Kwanza are actually hoping that they may not necessarily need to go for this impeachment and that they are counting on the deputy president resigning instead because that would be easier on everyone? They're not. They're confident about the numbers, but they're not so confident about the grounds that they are putting in their motion. Yeah,
I think so. I think they are not. Not many are enthusiastic about this. I think just some fights between the top two, and then they're using the MPs as their foot soldiers. I don't think many are enthusiastic that they should go the long haul. And maybe they think that Gachagua's resigning would spare them the drama because, impeachment turns the parliamentary proceeding into a court of impeachment, so to speak, so that after the National Assembly has their bid, they go to the Senate for the trial and the concurrence. So I don't think that many of them are enthusiastic about this, and in fact, quite frankly, some think that they should even avoid it altogether.
Because yes, many people are talking about 2 weeks by Christmas, you would have a flag, this time the other. Those timelines, are they realistic as far as you're concerned?
I just think it's a political blaster because there's still, again, court proceedings. Gachagua may go and, of course, he can't stay the proceeding at the National Assembly or the parliamentary process, but after that, he could go to. But I also overheard grapevine, because we know some of these politicians, they say that they want to ensure that the final decision on his going home is done on a Friday night, say 11 p.m., so that by immediately the Senate concluded the voting, it's gazetted. So that if Gachagua is to go to court, he will have to go to court as a citizen on Monday.
Not as a deputy president.
Not as a deputy president.
And by then he could have been replaced.
Immediately, of course. By then some nomination may have been made. And so he's fighting in the court, doing all those proceedings as not flying the flag.
And if we look at the cartoons today, I think all the cartoons, as we come to the close of this conversation, all the cartoons appear to be talking about the same thing. Okay, fine, this is different. This is the Kajiado governor, Ole Lenku, who's seeking to succeed Governor Waiguru as the chair of the Council of Governors. But this is a Daily Nation cartoon. My position on my impeachment is very consistent, and he's sitting on a seat there with that parliamentary tower with a very sharp needle just behind his, just below his behind. That's a cartoon on the Nation. On the Star, same thing, and the crown today is a bit bigger than usual. The crown of Wema.
It's loose. It's not fixed.
So all these people are trying to pull him down. And he's getting support from a few people here, a few MPs, the Wiper leader, the DAP Kenya. How is the balance of power now? I know in Parliament the numbers were tilted, but politically, I don't know if your story has captured that, but how is the balance of power currently?
Right now, Kalonzo declared himself the leader of opposition, but he doesn't seem to fit that shoe quite well. And I think as part of their political reorganizing the configuration, they are telling Gachagua that we're willing to work with you, and I think with the eye in the next election. And I think the thinking among the Kalonzo axis is that Gachagua and Ruto are a done deal. So whether the impeachment goes on or not, they will not run in the same way in 2027. And most fundamentally, that Ruto has lost Mount Kenya support.
Okay.
So Kalonzo and team are trying to quote Mount Kenya, and they think Gachagua is the... And you see, Mount Kenya, people don't vote for something, they vote against something. So if you come there and tell them enough that these people need to be punished, they will go that direction. They are hoping that they take the cue from Gachagua and rope him into the team and rail against Ruto, so that the mountain can punish.
All right.
Ruto, yes.
Gordon Osen, journalist to the Star, Asante Sana. And now that we're going into the weekend, this edition has the Siasa pull-out. And they're talking about how collapse of Gen Z wave has rejuvenated Ruto. And there's a picture there of the president walking alongside the former ODM party leader who's now seeking the AUC chairman's post. That's Raila Odinga in New York. Thank you so much. Smart people read the Star. Grab yourself a copy of the Star today for a lot in politics and more. Time now for us to take a break. When we come back, we'll have the youth perspective on state of the nation, looking at some of these big headlines that we'll be talking about, the wars facing the deputy president, as well as other stories. You can be part of this conversation as well on social media, on X at TV47 News, on Facebook, TV47 Kenya. My handle on X is at Fred Ndimuli.
June 2024, nationwide protests broke out in Kenya, opposing the 2024 Finance Bill. As the situation threatened to get out of hand, police officers were deployed to quell the unrest. Among them, Chief Inspector David Maina. Then hell broke loose. An explosive device went off, ripping off his forearms. He survives to tell the story.
I removed the pin, but there was, I don't know, there was some resistance. That pin, there was some problem with removing the pin. When it finally got off, and then I was just about to throw my stun grenade, I just saw darkness.
Join TV47's Lennox Sengre as he brings you an exclusive interview with Chief Inspector David Maina.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
All right, it is a Feel Good Friday right here at TV47 on Morning Cafe with me, Freddie Ndimuli. Time now for the State of the Nation, where we take a look at the big headlines. Of course, the biggest discussion is about the Deputy President and the looming impeachment. We'll be getting to that with my panelists this morning. Allow me to introduce them, beginning with Kimani Mwangi, governance expert. Karibu sana.
Asante sana, asante sana.
Next to Mwangi, we have Njeri Kahiga. Njeri Kahiga is a National Youth Leader Political Party, PNU. Karibu sana. It's been a while. Ulikuwa happy?
Impeachment.
And Hans Rowe, political analyst, also joins us. It's good to have you guys in studio for this discussion. A lot of talking points, and I know we'll talk about the impeachment, but there's a story that may escape a lot of people's attention, and it's on page 10 of the Standard, where you talk about inside Cherargei bill that seeks to increase presidential term limit. So the UDA senator, Samson Cherargei, now wants the constitution changed so that the term of the president is extended from the current 5 to 7 years. The senator has already tabled, and he did this yesterday, the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2024, which also seeks the extension of all other elected representatives, among them governors, members of parliament, senators, and members of county assembly. So kila mtu ongezewe ikuwe 7 mara moja. Currently, the elected leaders only do 5 years. Now, while moving the bill, he said the bill seeks to amend Article 136 of the Constitution to increase the term of the office of the President from 5 to 7 years and amend Articles 101, 177, and 180 of the Constitution to extend the terms of governors, senators, members of the National Assembly, and MCAs from 5 to 7 years. Now, Kimani, this argument has always been there, on and off, on and off. Finally, he has tabled an amendment motion before the Senate. This could be a game changer, if at all, if we could go by the numbers we are seeing and how they're playing out right now with the newfound alliance between ODM and Kenya Kwanza. We could actually see push towards this direction. Do you think it's just a distraction, that probably we are paying too much attention to something that's inconsequential?
Firstly, politicians have a way of waiting until when our attention is drawn elsewhere for them to sneak in some funny laws that benefits them. And this could be one of those instances. But again, it is also good to be fair to the system and ask, what informs the decision to increase the term? There has been argument that in our electioneering period, which is 5 years, we spend the first, after forming the government, we spend the first 1.5 years fighting on who won and who did not win. Firstly, we go through the legal process of petitioning the presidential win to the Supreme Court. A decision is made. Still after that, we spill over to the streets through demonstrations, and after almost a whole year, then we come to some sort of consensus that we can share this thing and peace reigns supreme. Then shortly thereafter, 2 years into the government and 1.5 years to elections, we all hit the road campaigning. So there has been that argument that it takes us like 2 years or 3 years to serve the people. The rest is spent on campaigning or fighting. A lot of economic suffering, as well as short time to serve the people. But then, is the solution to increase the term? Increasing the term is accepting that this is who we are, we can change. So as a result of it, then let's create 1 year for fighting and 1 year for campaigning and 5 years for serving the people. Essentially, this is what the politicians are telling us. Politicians have a way of avoiding the necessary tough work to be done.
Basically, it's a way of trying to accommodate our bad manners.
It is sanitizing our bad manners.
I've had, Njeri, I've had even suggestions that if we get to a possibility of a referendum, we should consider even changing how the deputy president position is appointed and make it an appointive position and not a running mate, where he can be fired or hired at the whims of the president, simply to accommodate our bad behavior. Do you think this is the best way to approach any possible constitution amendment?
If you were to ask me the approach we would do for such a case for the deputy president, whether they would continue being an elective, a running mate or an appointive position, I would narrow down to even going back to county governments, where sometimes the deputy governor take into the impeachment of the governor for them to go up the ladder. So I think if it comes to such amendments, we should not take them to appointive positions. Instead, we should make it independent elective positions. Just like a governor runs, so should a deputy governor run. Because at the end of the day, the mandate and the power belongs to the people. And sometimes when you just come in simply because somebody else was fronted, because in most cases we've seen people who have been deputy governors simply because the the governor was liked, but the other person was not really the ideal person to be the deputy governor. And sometimes superiority comes in between them and things go away, just like we are seeing in the case of the president and the deputy president. And when it comes to constitution amendments, there are way more disturbing issues with the Kenyan people that need to be amended rather than political part of it. In that constitution, there are so many things we can amend to make better the lives of Kenyans before we even talk of political amendments, because at the end of the day, we need to ask ourselves, why are we always considering the politician, not the common Wanjiko? Why are we always considering increasing the term of politicians or making their time in office more freedom, more of everything that they want to get, privileges and everything, increasing their budgets, giving them luxury at the expense of common Mwananchi. I wish we would look into constitutional amendments that can work for the Kenyan people. How can we increase the freedom of expression for the Kenyan taxpayer? How can we increase safeguarding their democracy? How can we increase that tomorrow if a Kenyan taxpayer goes on the road, they will not be shot dead by a police officer? How are we going to end abductions? How are we going to ensure that in future, the Kenyan taxpayer, in terms of the constitution, but again, it would beg the question, if already we have a constitution that guides us on how to go through about these issues, but we still don't follow it, will amending it going to help the Kenyan taxpayer? Again, at the question of the expense of the politician. So it's a discussion that we need to have as Kenyans. But then again, I want to ask the Gen Z, please don't get tired of agitating. Please don't get tired of raising your concerns. Along the way, for the last 3-4 months, anytime I sit in any political meeting or in any strategy meeting, they are saying, we cannot do this because the Gen Z, if they see this, they're going to say this and they're going to raise this. So at the end of the day, it's a conversation everybody's coming into reality into.
Hans, and talking about Gen Z, there's a lot that can be said, but the Gen Zs are not considering any possibility of changing a constitution 14 years later. But if we look at the politicians, they're very keen and they are very clear about what they want. And I look at this bill at a glance. This is very political amendments. He's proposing to change the terms of the president and other elected leaders, to extend the terms of elected leaders, creation of the prime minister's office, has included it, where the Prime Minister is appointed from the largest party in Parliament. It seeks to enhance Senate powers, allowing it to vet state officers, proposing changes to the impeachment process of governors and other constitutional processes. Okay, at least there's one, calls for increase of counties' revenue share from 15 to 40%. But most of these proposals are purely politics. It's goodies for politicians. There are other issues, and Jerry says, that probably need our attention in as far as amending the constitution. But Kenyans are not looking that way. If we let this any possible amendment be left only to the politicians, we could end up with something totally different.
Good morning, Fred.
Good morning.
I wouldn't want us to imagine that there are gay ideas, is politicians' ideas or Kenyan ideas. This is a personal idea. And therefore, we wouldn't want to imagine that all politicians have such kind of thinking.
But they stand to benefit directly from that.
Yeah, but we want to see how they'll respond. After they respond, now we charge them. If there are those who will say, let's go for it. But then if you seek, if I try just to give my point of thinking about the term limit, I would think 5 years is small. Because 7 years is a good time to deliver. If you, apart from seeing the benefit that politicians get from being a member of parliament for 7 years, see how government projects can be delivered. 5 years, that's why most of the president terms, the first term, there's less to be done. In the second term, there's a lot to be delivered. Because within the first 5 years, actually, it's difficult to deliver on government projects. Let me tell you.
Why is it difficult? In the US, they do 4 years for president. Is it just because of our bad manners that we see 5 years as too?
Let me answer that one. In the US, why they do 4 years is because, Kenya is a developing country. More of our performance in government is all about infrastructure. US is a developed country. It's more about service providing. So on service providing, 4 years is just good time. But on development, you need more. Like if you begin today want to do certain kind of procurement processes to do infrastructure, 5 years is a small time. If you begin about drawing, like if you want to do a road today, if you begin it by only doing drawings by the engineers, it can even take 6 months to 1 year. Then you go to procurement processes. Then maybe if there's a court injunction for it, then they fight, then they win, then they begin doing it. So it's difficult. But then if you can even compare it with Rwanda. If you give it time and you get a good leader, we are going to deliver. Again, on this, what Cherargas tried to place in, the one that seeks to give Senate powers, I think it makes sense because we are not seeing Senate being given the real kind of attention. National Assembly had seemed to be, like now we've been complaining about rubber stabbings of the parliament and so on. We need to have a strong Senate, that in case we have weak members in the National Assembly, at least the country can be saved with the Senate. Lastly is increase of allocation from 15 to 40%. I think it's a good idea. But then we wait to see on how these people are going to respond. My thinking is it's not an emergency. It's just an idea of hierarchy and seeing maybe it can be adopted.
Jerry, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to mention that he mentioned that in case we have a very weak parliament, we cannot afford to have a weak parliament. And that is why I'm so agitated by the fact that until now we don't have an IEBC. Tell me why I need my MP for Ndaragwa constituency to go for 7 years if 2 years down the line, outside, the roads, the developments, everything else is still at a standstill, you know? And yet, when there are political shenanigans going on in Mount Kenya, I see him lined up taking photos alongside the likes of Kimani Ichung'wah, members of parliament who in their constituency, every road is tarmacked, you know? Some of our Mount Kenya and other parts of the country, the development is not the same. Some areas have roads, others have hospitals, others don't have completely. I can tell you if you come back to our constituency in Ndaragwa, some people have not yet seen electricity in their constituencies. So they would wonder, why would somebody tell me to extend the term limit of an MP for 7 years, for him to give me 7 years of stories, for me to be seeing him in political shenanigans, but I cannot see him in development agendas. You know, we need to be very honest. The term of a limit or the term limit for MPs cannot be increased. In fact, we should create a way that IEBC should never in any time in our Kenyan history have a gap, have a vacuum. So that if I want to take out my MP tomorrow morning, I only need to follow the procedure, because right now all these political things that are happening is because everybody knows even if I misbehave, even if I do everything that should not be done, it would take a whole 1 year before IEBC is brought. We bring politics of IEBC.
It's been 2 years since President William Ruto took over, and many would argue it's been 2 wasted years. That probably, yes, now he only has 3 years before the next election. So many of his projects are yet to see the light of day. That probably 3 years would be too short for him. Probably if he had an extension of another 2 years, it would make sense.
I think, the first duty of a man should be to think for themselves. And as Kenyans, we must understand that politicians will always be politicians. And politicians, in a way, are innately selfish. I think for you to run and to wish to be the head of others, there is some sort of evil in you that pushes you to imagine that you should be the one leading the others. Why not being led, you know? We should have competitions for those who want to be led as well. Now, what happens is, the day the people will be as selfish as the MPs or as the elected leaders, things will start working out for them. Now, I wouldn't fight with MPs who wanted to increase their term from 5 to 7 years. I would demand as a people that we ought now to make the process of recall simpler. You be there for 7 years, it's okay, because we have good MPs and we have bad MPs. If you ask the people of Kiharu, they would wish that the MP stays for 10 years, right? Because of the things he's doing. If you ask the people of Molo, where I come from, possibly they would say we want Kuria Kimani to continue being there because he's a good MP.
But they have the opportunity to vote them back again.
Just a moment. It is a rigorous process that uses a lot of funds. So those who have a good MP, they wouldn't mind him staying longer. Those who have a bad MP, like my sister here, they wouldn't even wish that he stays for 4 years. They would, you know, she's asking, well, is the IBC going to be fully constituted for us to recall the MP? I think one of the things that the people now want to say is, okay, you have your 7 years term. Make it easier for us to recall you if you are not contented with your performance, so that we give the good MPs and good elected leaders time to serve their people without the interruptions of elections. But then we must also retain the power to recall you if we don't like the way you do things, and recall you with ease. When you make it so difficult, because politicians are very clever, they will increase the term, then they will make it almost impossible for you to recall them. Firstly, they will say, no, now you have to let us at least have for 3 years before you weigh whether we are doing well or bad for you to recall us. So the people too must start becoming more active in politics and looking out for themselves and asking, okay, you want to get it for yourselves, what is it? Because this thing of increasing the count allocations to count revenue is a lie. Let me tell you in the Bulgi, there's no way you are going to take 40% of all the funds we collect and send it to county governments, with all the functions that have been retained for the national government. If today, after allocating 400 billion out of 3 trillion, out of a budget of almost 4 trillion, we still borrowing, then how do you tell me that we shall collect 2.5 and take almost 1 trillion to counties?
Okay.
The national government isn't going to run on 1.5. It is a lie, and we know it.
What about the suggestion about the impeachment of governors? And you can see the bill proposes an amendment to Article 181 of the Constitution, providing for the procedure for removal from office of a county governor or a deputy governor, so as to have a decision to impeach a governor being challenged only at the Supreme Court. Hans, there seems to be a recognition that, yes, the impeachment process is not that easy. Even the one that we'll be talking about for the deputy president, it's not that easy. Do you think we should change and make it a bit easier, that if at all you were to challenge it in court, it's only at the Supreme Court level? Because now, if you start at a lower court, you still have the option of appeal at the Court of Appeal, then the Supreme Court, which could take a whole year. There's already a governor who's been impeached. The process is still in court. She's still governor, months later.
Fred, that's what I was telling you. In Jarage's idea or bill, there is pros and cons. Like just the way Kimani has brought it, that there are members of parliament who are doing well, and giving them time would be good. I think what needs to be considered, even as we discuss the governors, is that the impeachment process should be easy.
So even for the president?
Even for the president, so that if there is no delivery, because we want to believe we're in a democratic country going forward, that somebody should not feel that this is my house, this is my home, I can do anything that I want to do, okay? Because if you've heard Jerry saying that a member of parliament should be impeached or should go home, it's because you realize that if a member of parliament is not performing, they should really be removed from the office. But if a member of parliament is performing, they should have good time to deliver. That's why I was saying 5 years is not enough. Running government projects, 5 years can never be enough to implement them. Number two is there should be a lot of public participation, even on this bill as it is going on. We want to hear what people are saying, because if somebody today, we wouldn't want to imagine that these ideas come in from politicians and so on. We want public participation to be done and made it public, like on a national television. We want it to be more exposed to more angels. Then we hear what people are saying, because we know there are leaders who are doing well and there are leaders who are not doing well. Lastly, on the, I really do not know what needs to be done, because even if we develop more money to go into the counties now is more corrupt even than national government. Governors run counties like their home. There is nothing. You realize even issues of payment have to be approved by governor. They have to sit with the head of finance in his house or wherever in the evening to go and see who's going to be paid and who's not going to be paid. If you're not in the line of the governor, if you haven't come to see a governor as a contractor, you are not paid. Such kind of things at times we wonder, if no more money is devolved to the county, are we helping people or not? So I think they should have more ways of gapping and making and expose more government functions so that we see transparency in everything.
Okay. Of course, the highlight there on this story is the extension of term limits for the president and other elected leaders, but the bill actually carries a lot more issues, including on the impeachment of governors, as well as the creation of the office of prime minister, which is already handled in the NADCO report, and I don't know why he's including it here. But anyway, those are just some of the headlines we're looking at. Let's take a break. When we come back, now we delve into the big matter, the impeachment, or the looming impeachment of the deputy president.
June 2024, nationwide protests broke out in Kenya, opposing the 2024 finance bill, as the situation threatened to get out of hand. Police officers were deployed to quell the unrest. Among them, Chief Inspector David Maina. Then hell broke loose. An explosive device went off, ripping off his forearms. He survives to tell the story.
I removed the pin, but there was, I don't know, there was some resistance. That pin, there was some problem with removing the pin. When it finally got off, and then I was just about to throw my stun grenade, I just saw darkness.
Join TV47's Lennox Sengre as he brings you an exclusive interview with Chief Inspector David Maina.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Right. Of course, one of the stories featuring on our dailies, on the front pages of all dailies, is what happened in Russia a couple of weeks back. The memorial service for the 21 children who perished in that unfortunate fire incident happened yesterday in Nyeri. All the dailies locally have featured the photos or the images there. The Daily Nation has gone ahead and featured all the photos of those who perished, their ages and their names. And it is a very sensitive matter that is still very raw in the hearts and minds of Kenyans, and we will try and refrain from commenting too much on this. I'm sure there are issues we would want to talk about, including boarding schools and the safety in schools. We will continue, but for today, let's move on to the other bigger headline, and not bigger, but the other headlines given prominence on the front pages. And it's about the Deputy President. DP's allies face arrest as coup claim emerges. And our reporters here at TV47 also filed a story on this. Gachagua's allies in trouble. And let's watch that story before we come back and continue this conversation.
Appearing before the National Assembly's Committee on Administration and Internal Security, Interior CS Professor Kithure Kindiki has now said that youth-led anti-government protests aimed at unconstitutionally overthrowing President William Ruto. Kindiki also defending the police use of force during demonstrations, stressing that it was their duty to safeguard government institutions, including Parliament, particularly in the face of unprecedented protests that posed a significant threat to the country.
And those who took advantage of that expression of
democratic opinion to commit crime also are intended to access State House and take it over unconstitutionally.
Kindiki now saying that those who financed the anti-government protests, including high-profile individuals and politicians, will soon face prosecution. The CS has also said that no one involved in unlawful activities will be spared and vowed to remain firm in upholding the law. His remarks, however, drew criticism from the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, who through his social media platforms condemned the use of government machinery to intimidate leaders.
And I am informed by DCI that high-level prosecutions will ensue anytime from now, of including political leaders who financed, and we have evidence they financed people to loot shops, to kill Kenyans, expose them to danger, and we cannot countenance the kind of mayhem we saw in July and June, for whatever reason.
Even as the pressure groups condemned the use of excessive force by the police during demos, placing the death toll to over 60 people, the Interior Cabinet Secretary told the committee that 42 Kenyans lost their lives during protests and 132 are still missing. He, however, faced tough questions on why abductions are still occurring, despite his declaration that no Kenyan should suffer at the hands of police officers, particularly through abductions
and false disappearances. It has been common knowledge, because these 132 members who are missing, where are they? They can't just miss out, cannot just disappear in thin air, and yet this is a country of Kenya. We have extensive security network in this country. Where are these people and who are they?
This administration does not condone abductions or extrajudicial killings or enforced disappearances. So it is unfair to visit a policy of extrajudicial killings on government unless we are provided with the evidence.
Nairobi has the highest number of missing persons with 34 cases reported. Nyeri follows with 28 people missing, while Kirinyaga has 16 and Nyandarua 13. Other counties affected include Kitui with 9, Garissa 8, Machakos 6, Mombasa 5, Kisumu 4, Mandera 4, Kajiado 3, Tharaka Nithi 1 and Wajir 1 person. Elizabeth Mutuko, TV47, Nairobi.
It's the same angle that the Standard has chosen to go with as a top headline. DP allies face arrest as coup claims emerge. 5 allies of embattled Deputy President Gachagua are staring at a date with justice after investigators linked them to allegedly planning, mobilizing and financing Gen Z protests, even as Interior CS claims plotters took advantage of demos in a bid to overthrow the president. I'm still in studio with Kimwani Mwangi, Njeri Kahiga and Hans Ropp. And it has not escaped our attention that this claims, or the link between the Deputy President's allies and the protests in June came a day, the same day that the impeachment motion or signatures for the impeachment motion were being collected. And one wonders, could there be a link between the two? Because yes, criminality on one hand would have been handled any other time by the criminal justice system. These claims could be tantamount to treason. We did not see that push between June and September. This is 3 months later, just as impeachment is gaining momentum, then they say that the DP's allies could be linked to the protest. Don't you think that the DP is right in saying that this is a misuse of a criminal justice system? If they had this evidence, they would have prosecuted these individuals way long ago.
There is nothing that happens in politics by coincidence.
So it is purely politics?
It's purely made to happen when it has to happen to achieve some pre-planned objective. So at a time when the members of parliament have collected signatures to impeach the deputy president and the DCI completes his investigation against allies of the deputy president and ODPP rushes to approve the charges, and any time those guys would be facing the judge. Then that's purely politics. The DCI would have been done with the investigations earlier or even later. That it coincides with this, it's purely politics. It was planned, firstly, to wipe the emotions of the people, to make it appear like the DP is so evil. And we are not just impeaching for political reasons. We are impeaching a very bad man whose friends might have been the reason why your son or your daughter died or your daughter was maimed in the demonstrations, because they infiltrated those protests with criminals with a selfish ulterior motive. So it is meant to create a situation from which things will build to have people side with whatever will be happening in Parliament any moment going forward. So it's purely political, and it is in bad taste. It's not good for the nation. I agree with the Deputy President in as much as I may wish to remind him that mkuki kwa nguruwe mtamu. When these things were happening against other, he wasn't speaking. When mothers were crying of their children abducted, he never said nothing. When all these, so why is it so important that today we must sympathize with him that he is being isolated and the judicial and some security organs are used against him? We can only tell him, while we understand it is wrong, but we are okay with it because you didn't have issues when it was us being afflicted by the same system.
But if it was to be used in Jerry, this kind of approach, or any other Kenyan, definitely the fact that it appears to be an abuse of the criminal justice system, that when you're facing political upheavals, then they are compounded through investigations by the DCI and the ODPP. If at all there was criminality, as they allege, this would have happened earlier. It has been 3 months. They would have been in court by now. Treason is criminal.
I really, of course, I have to remind you all, PNU is still in opposition. Because, you know, people have a tendency of thinking that PNU went into government when Baba was going. And I don't want to speak on behalf of my party, but as somebody in opposition, I'm torn in between. Do I really support this guy? The same guy who was out there throwing us under the bus. Every time that anything happened, he threw it under the bus. Every time we were agitating, it is Mongeke. Every time we were agitating, it is Uhuru funding, you know? And it's, I would want every young politician to learn a lot from our seniors, because we have seen it happen in the history of Uhuru regime. It's now happening in this regime of Kenya Kwanza administration. And if we don't take care, the next regime will still do the same. Because we have made it a routine. If I am in power and I feel I can oppress my deputy president, I only need to work around the security organs and the politicians, you know, and ensure I teach him who is superior than who. It happened last regime. It is happening in this regime. And I am taken back to the speech that the deputy president made on the inauguration. And I remember the painful and sorrowful Kenyan people when they looked at how a presidential personnel, like a deputy president, had turned the inauguration into some, you know, mockery into the former regime, and a lot of people would ask, did he have to say all these state capture shenanigans when the whole world was watching? Now, look, the same state capture he was pinning on the former president is now on him. And he made his bed. I'm not going to say he now lie on it, because him lying on that bed is going to bring a routine of anybody bringing a deputy president for the sake of winning elections. Then after 1-2 years, they can bring whoever they wanted to bring. Remember, by facts that when the president was looking for a deputy president, we all thought he's going to take Kindiki by then. And every other politician nowadays narrates the story of how they camped deciding who they wanted. People voted for the CS of Interior, but the president handpicked the deputy president against the will of all other politicians. So now I'm of the question, if that time when every other politician voted for the CS Kindiki, and Rigathi Gachagua only got 3 votes among so many other MPs, but he still handpicked him, meaning he made his calculations and realized, I can go with Kindiki for the sake of these people, but again, it's not going to give me the win. But I'm going to handpick Rigathi Gachagua because I know if I don't pick this guy, there's a card ahead there that I may not be able to cross the other side with. So it's very unfortunate that they want to use and dump the deputy president. But again, I have sat in this platform again and told you the only mistake that the deputy president did as a politician is trusting everybody. You know, you don't just trust anybody. Just like in a marriage, you don't go to a church to get a marriage certificate because you don't trust your partner. You know, this is somebody you are going to have children with, a family with, and everything else. But you still require a government paper to confirm you guys are married. This guy went into a marriage of Kenya Kwanza. No party, no members, no nothing. He was even negotiating his bride price, you know. He was told by the people from the mountain, please, let us send our elders, you know, let us send our people, go with the party. Today, he's there being roasted. He has no numbers. Trust you me, if the impeachment is about numbers, our guy is out.
Okay, and we come to the impeachment. It's this issue about the use of the DCI or DPP at this time. According to the Deputy President, this is a misuse of the criminal justice system. These are the same claims they made towards the tail end of the Uhuru administration, that the Uhuru administration was using this system against them. And they vowed that this would not happen again going forward. It's only 2 years. And we're seeing the same happening, and not to any other person but the Deputy President.
Mr. Fred, if it is true that these guys had a hand in Gen Z's protest, then we need to withdraw the word use of criminal justice. They should actually be in jail. We should withdraw that. Because if there is evidences to even M-Pesa on them funding these programs, then we should not even claim that the police or the DCI are being used to follow them. Actually, they should pay for that crime. And we've been here and I've been consistent that Gen Z protest was never organic. It was planned, it was schemed, it was funded. And with time, with time, we will come to prove this. It looked to be natural, but they played it too smart, and the intention was to oust the president. And that's one thing that is pushing Rigathi away. Rigathi is not going to be forgiven. It's going to go no matter any kind of talk that happens. Kimani had said that this happened for political reasons. Just the same way Gen Zs were funded and so on, it was for political reasons. One thing I study from the character of our deputy president is that there is zero loyalty. If you observe the events that have happened for the last 2 years, when a president is holding his conference here, he goes on and holds his after. How much there's anything agitating you, some loyalty dictates that you'll be patient even to give a feedback, or you give it another day. So at some point, even if I was the president or anybody, if you have such kind, or even in a homestead, if you have a wife who just parrots out, you will get uncomfortable along the way, and you'll even think of maybe divorcing or getting another wife. Something else is, I also observe that our deputy president has had a lot of appetite for leadership. We see a deputy president who just got to be a member of parliament for 1 term. And we remember what went on in Karen when they were trying to get a deputy president and trying to convince him that let Kindiki be the deputy president. Even from the sources we've had, he stormed out. There are even some clips online how he stormed out that if you are not going to give me the deputy president, probably he had invested his money in the campaign team for that time, that give me my money back, I'll go out. You get it? So we see him having a lot of appetite for leadership. Now that he has become the deputy president, instead of him being a deputy president, he still wants to enjoy the same powers as the president. And therefore, I feel the intention to oust the president could be, or there could be some list that leads to his door, just for appetite of leadership.
That it comes, and I saw the DCI write a letter about the charges they were investigating against his allies this same week when the impeachment is coming. That coincidence is purely coincidental?
It's not a coincidence. It is just that now that these issues are beginning to come out, then members of parliament think that this person needs to be impeached. And now they begin taking
the thought of impeachment was already there. And
just to assert my position, we remember at some point the governor for Nairobi was also implicated on the funding of the protests. We saw people camp at his office demanding to be paid their dues. There was this former MCA who we saw his Range Rover and the people he had also funded. So to prove to my brother what we are saying, that in politics we have this thing of isolation and targeting. So what we're doing is, the allies of Gachagua must have been involved in this, bad enough, they should face the law. But the fact is, if we are truly not using it to single out them for punishment, why is the governor for Nairobi not in the same list? Why is the MCA not in the same list? Why is it that we have singled out a few fellas aligned to the deputy president, and now we have chosen that these are the most evil ones because they funded against us? Not for us, because the governor was funding for us, the MCA was funding for us. So those who funded against us, so we single them out and persecute them. It is bad, up to that system to punish, right, when it is not working for us, yeah, for political expediency. It is what we are condemning, not the funding by those we think are our friends. Yes.
Yes, Jerry.
I was burning with a question. Is it the CS Interior who is telling us of who should be arrested? That guy should be, I think he should be in jail as we speak. That person was the CS supervising police brutality. How many police have been brought to book? We have videos of policemen shooting at Kenyans. Now, I have listened to that clip where he was saying that some people came into, the police were just defending the government institutions. How was that journalist who was shot 3 times a threat to our government institution? That CS, as we speak, he should be in jail as we speak. You know, because you cannot tell us you want to arrest those who funded. Yes, let us even imagine they funded. What about you who supervised brutality? Abductions, you know. To date, we are talking about 132 who are known to be missing. There are people who don't even have families and they are missing, and so they have nobody to go report those guys are missing, you know. What was done about those that dump site that we found so many other bodies? Who was taken to book for that? How many police officers today are in jail or are in court because of the actions that they did? We saw the Gen Z record every brutality, what happened to it. Okay. To date, we are still talking about the fear of the unknown. The other day, we just saw 3 gentlemen from Kitengela after 1 month of abduction in a matatu. Yani, abduction is so, we have normalized abductions that these guys from, I don't know which side of the police force, I don't know if it's DCI or wherever, can halt a matatu and, hey, simamisha. And then they abduct people and nothing is done for 1 month. And then one morning they wake up after the MP for Embakasi wakes up and raises the question. Then they are released and taken back to the public. We cannot use information from the same guy who supervised to bring into book other people who he claims funded. Okay. He is part of that chain. And there is no way the case of a sheep is going to be handled by another worse sheep than him. Okay. So if that is it, they all go down.
I want us now to focus on the impeachment process itself, away from even these claims about links to possible treason. On the front page of the Star, DP Rigathi, a dead man walking as D-Day is fixed. Talk about 250 MPs from Kenya Kwanza and Azimio who have signed the ouster petition. News titans on Gachagua is a big headline on the People Daily. TV47 Newsroom also filed a story on the impeachment of the deputy president. Let's watch that story before we come back and discuss it.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua's fate in the Kenya Kwanza administration appears sealed after more than 200 MPs appended their signatures in support of the impeachment motion against him, surpassing the threshold of 117 MPs needed for the motion to be tabled in Parliament.
I was shocked. I thought I would be top 10. But when I arrived to sign the impeachment motion, I was actually number 242, and there was a queue already. So meaning that we are going to have more than whatever we require to impeach the deputy president.
It is a foregone conclusion because the deputy president has asked for it. So I believe we just have to wait.
Gachagua's impeachment motion, now in its final stages and expected to be handed over to the Speaker on Friday, cites 6 grounds against the Deputy President. The grounds include violation of the Constitution, disrespecting President William Ruto, going against government policies, leaking confidential cabinet information, against the Official Secrets Act, abuse of office and gross misconduct, as well as crimes under national law, among them financing the Gen Z protests.
The person that we are going to impeach is not a deputy governor. He's a deputy president of the Republic of Kenya. The person that we are going to send home through the impeachment motion is not a lightweight. It's a person who has anchored himself into very strong tribal beliefs. The person that we are going to send home is a person who participated in an attempted coup, actually against our president. So this is a deep-rooted person.
Tulishangaa sana ni namna gani baada ya rais amezungumza State House, Ikulu, tukaona naibu wa rais anazungumza Mombasa na anakanusha hizo maneno yote, maneno nyingi.
With all eyes set on who will propose the motion and second, President William Ruto and former Prime Minister Raila Odinga's foot soldiers have picked a tentative list of MPs from where a proposer and a seconder of the historic motion will come from. In the Kenya Kwanza camp, a proposer is expected to be picked among a list of 5 that includes Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah, Kimilili MP Didmus Barasa, Laikipia East MP Mwangi Kiunjuri, Gatanga MP Edward Moreu, and Mukurweini MP John Kagushia.
So the mover of the motion to impeach the deputy president, after a careful consideration, and the said person as we speak today is undergoing training and seminar on how he will prosecute this matter. That person, I can assure the country that is the person with the qualifications of the judge of the High Court.
The Azimio coalition is expected to pick the second of the motion from a list of 3 ODM MPs led by Minority Leader Junet Mohamed, Rarieda MP Otiende Amolo, and Homa Bay Town MP Peter Kaluma. Apul Kamau, TV47.
Right, it appears it is a done deal. D-Day fixed, a dead man walking. That's the headline on the Star newspaper. But hence, it is also not lost on us that the MPs required to support this motion were only about 117. The fact that we have close to 250 MPs and they're keen to show everyone that they are 250 MPs appears that they were also trying to test their strength in as far as the numbers are concerned. We've also seen the kind of threats and very loud, very much verbalized threats against the deputy president, telling him we're going to impeach you this week. They have the numbers already. It is very clear. Why the insistence? You are able to impeach him. Why don't you go ahead and impeach him? It would appear that they also realize that impeaching a deputy president may not necessarily be a walk in the park. Don't you agree?
It's not a walk in the park. In the park, I mean. It's going to be a difficult process because there'll be issues of court. Unless they scheme it well, it's not going to be easy But then just to support your sentiments is, why is it that they are shouting out and they are telling the deputy president that we are going to impeach you? Is because deputy president has lost all. There's no ground that holds him, that feels like if you really lose Rikiji, you're going to lose a lot in the ground. It's shown to be, it's more of being naked, that there's nothing he holds. So anybody can answer him. And you've seen all members of parliament answering. And you realize that probably this could be a decision that has already gone on. Discussion that has already been there. Now it's just a situation whereby it's being now made real. It's being placed into action for him to go out. And as much as I think it is hard, I think politicians always have a way of fixing out. You remember even in the previous government when they wanted to remove the likes of the leader of majority of Aden Duale, Akina Murkomen, how Uru brought the team from Kanu and they made Pokisho the leader of majority in the Senate. There's always a way the government will always want to do something when they feel like you're not still playing into their tune.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it would appear that there's a different end that they're hoping for, that maybe they had realized before this link to the Gen Z protest that maybe their motion did not have the proper grounds, and they're pushing probably for a different result, hopefully to force the president to resign out of fear of the repercussions of a possible impeachment, of a successful impeachment, and probably they realize if it's not successful, it would look bad on them. He'd rather resign, and the way to make him resign is to shout out and to ensure that he knows we have the numbers. Do you think that that's a possible end result that they are hoping for from the Kenya Kwanza side?
Gachagua is not a man who is known to take it lying. And I can tell you for a fact that they better be braced for a fight. They have the numbers that I can assure you that to gather 116, already they've exceeded the number. The law requires that, statistically, if it is 116 point, we call it 116. If it is 233 point, we call it 233. So they have the 116 that already is gotten. They'll easily get the 233. They will easily get the 44 in the Senate. But the impeachment process is as legal as it is political, because it is anchored in the Constitution in Article 150. Now, the Deputy President will go to High Court. Take around 6 months. Even if the High Court decides against him, he goes to Supreme Court. Another like 6 months. Even if Court of Appeal, decides against him, he goes to Supreme Court, because this is a matter of national importance. And then we have a deputy president who is on the corridors of justice for a whole 1 year and a half, and he's either let off the hook or condemned when we are counting months to elections. Mm-hmm. I can tell you for a fact, for self-aggrandizement, this sounds like a very good thing. For show of might, it's a very good thing. We want to show Rigathi we have the numbers, we can silence him. But I can tell you the political repercussions of this move is grave.
For Kenya Kwanza, it would be easier if the deputy president just threw in the towel and said, okay.
No, he's not going to. Because to prove something in the court of public opinion is very easy, because you just whip emotions. Now, when it comes to prove the same in a court of law where you have a sober judge who asks you a question, the threshold is gross misconduct, gross violation, and serious reasons. Now, the judge will tell us what is the threshold of serious reasons to imagine, to think that somebody has committed a crime. What is the threshold for gross violation of articles of the Constitution? Gross is not just violation. What is the threshold of gross misconduct of a state officer? Mm-hmm. You may prove violations, misconduct, reasons. But are they serious enough to warrant the removal? Are they gross enough to warrant the removal? Now, that part of answering those questions is where the whole bit of the matter lies. Okay. Because when you have somebody for a whole year plus in a court of law with jargons, with us trying to answer those three questions. And again, it is also good to remind the Kenya Kwanza movers of this motion that in Kenya, our political figureheads are not just people who hold titles. They are our representative to the table where the national cake is shared. And it is them that we expect will come back home with a piece for us to eat. There is a reason why Mount Kenya has developed more than Nyanza. It's simply because Mount Kenya has been in all successive governments and Nyanza has always been out. So whenever there was a cake being shared, there was somebody to take home to the people of Mount Kenya their piece of the cake, while there wasn't one to take home a piece of cake from Nyanza. So Mount Kenya developed, and it is a fact we have to align ourselves with, because it is what has bequeathed us the devolution in us trying to say, these people have been left behind so much, and the reason is because they lack somebody to represent them. Let us bring money closer to them so that they don't have to send somebody to Nairobi to bring them something. Now, the danger with that is that persecution of this figurehead is a persecution of the tribe. Right? So he's right that Gachagua might not have the ground with him, but I can tell you, because I come from Mount Kenya, that he has it. And by the time you are done persecuting him, he would have locked it. It will be as impenetrable as the night. Now, what I'm trying to wonder in this whole melee is one, the political repercussions. The president is a very wise political player. Why is he allowing himself to win on show of might and aggrandizement and lose the presidency in 2027? Because you can't count on Raila Odinga as a man who will be behind you, because Raila Odinga is a political...
Odinga is another discussion. On this impeachment, yes, it has been so publicized, and if you look at Twitter right now, the threats are continuing. That it's 2 weeks. In 2 weeks' time, you'll be out. You won't have a flag by December. It would appear there's a push for the deputy president to instill fear in the deputy president, even before the impeachment, possibly to force him into a position where he could say, okay, fine, let me resign instead of being impeached. But as Kimani says, it is not a simple thing. Even the former leader of majority, C.S. Aden Duale, acknowledged that when there were threats to impeach the then deputy president, William Ruto, that it was not going to be easy for anyone to impeach the deputy president. It's the same as impeaching the president. We recognize that it's not easy. The numbers in parliament may say different, but is it a done deal?
First of all, I want to say that Kenya Kwanza is behaving like a toxic marriage partner relationship, whereby one partner is all over the apartment and the corridors of families and in-laws telling everybody, me, I can leave this guy, you know, for reason A, B, C, and D, you know. I even have advocates in line waiting to file the divorce, but they don't go ahead. They just want to make it toxic. They want to make the environment very hostile. And again, remember, in this country, politicians have a tendency of bringing political temperatures to sway the attention of Kenyans from very important things. Why Kenya Kwanza politicians are very quick to say, you know, it's about 2 weeks. You know, they want the attention of Kenyans away from the Adani deal and the Kentraco deal and the many other deals going on. You know, it's at that point of transition between NHIF and SHIF. I can see they're already sending us messages. So the politicians have decided now, for our deals to be going through behind the scenes, we need to keep these Kenyans busy with emotions, you know. And the only way to do that is for us to keep tweeting, because they have realized if today Oscar Sudi tweets something, tomorrow everybody, or not even tomorrow, the minute he posts it, screenshots have been taken. You find them in groups as far as Nyandarua. He's not even a member of parliament there, but, you know, by the virtue of the political temperatures that are on social media right now, the government knows if they bring these, everybody will not be discussing this. And I want to tell every Kenyan that one thing I know, if they have numbers, you know, you don't have to keep telling us you have the numbers. Just move forward, you know, stop. So they are telling us we have numbers. We as Kenyans, what are we supposed to do?
If you have him in your crosshair,
yeah,
go ahead and shoot.
It's like telling us, you know, yeah, it's like somebody has a gun and they keep telling you, you know, me, I can aim your head. Just aim, you know. And at the end of the day, the Kenyan history of politics has a way of bringing people to embarrassment. Now look, the CS who was by then an MP and the majority leader, today he's now wondering, how can I delete that video where I said the impeachment is very difficult, you know? And when the deputy president, back then in the Uhuru regime, who is now the president, was at that point, at least for him, it never got to even people bringing numbers and everything. But I can tell you for a fact, they are hoping that this tension is going to make the deputy president resign and, you know, maybe go to apologize. I even saw one member of parliament say he can simply just go and apologize. Apologize for what? You people have the numbers, go to court, let us start with it there, you know, or even bring it into parliament. I want to listen to my member of Ndaragwa tell me why I need to take that, he needs to take that guy home. Bring it to parliament. Let us add reasons why we take this swamp down come 2027. Because at the end of the day, Kenyans really want to understand, is the impeachment of Gachagua going to take money to treasury? Is the impeachment of Gachagua going to bring capitation to our schools? Is the impeachment of Gachagua going to make our health sector better? Is the impeachment of Gachagua going to make the Adani deal go away? You know, we are asking ourselves, how is the impeachment of a deputy president going to raise our economical, our economy that is already right now on a free fall?
Okay. There could be concerns about the strength of the impeachment motion. The numbers are definitely there. And in Parliament, as far as that discussion is concerned, they've proven that they can marshal the two-thirds majority very fast. But it's the wording of the motion that will change the game. Before the introduction of this issues about the link to the Gen Z protests, they were just talking about gross misconduct, disrespecting the president and stuff like that. Do you think that they've realized that probably they need more than that for a successful impeachment? They could just be, because initially if it's only engineered by political disagreement, that could not be enough grounds for impeachment.
Saying that they could have realized, I think will go different with me. I think they must have got the intelligence of this, all this information must have been there for it to begin. This is just a process to make it to be documented so that it is used it well now as an accusation against it. I wouldn't imagine that they are now realizing that they need more, so they are now going to get more evidences. I think this evidence are already there and the information is already there. It's just the process of maybe going for these guys to actually defend themselves and accuse them, so that at least now they'll be having tangible evidences even if they go to the court. And just to give another few is that there are many issues that will make Rikiji today to be impeached, and it is in public domain. You know, at the state of deputy president, that is the presidency. Yeah. And many times when the current president was a deputy president back in Rift Valley, he would come to a function and speak for almost 45 minutes. Then he speaks maybe in vernacular just for 2 minutes, and people will like speaking in our local dialect. And he'd always say, now that I'm a deputy president, I'm not a president of Rift Valley. I have to speak as to whole people. And we've seen Rigathi Gachagua's more going to his own dialect. There are more evidences even in court to show that is that
an impeachable offense, speaking in your local dialect?
I'm just speaking, yeah, it is. You know, let me tell you, when you are in the presidency, you know, when he's given some claim that he used to speak with the same vernacular when he was campaigning. What is different now? That is different. When you are campaigning, you are not the deputy president. But once you become the deputy president, you are not the president of Kenya. And therefore, it leads even me to the next comment that I want to make, whereby Kimani has made a very dangerous statement on a national TV, whereby you'll say that Mount Kenya is more developed than Nyanza because there has been a leader who takes a cake from the national table to the people. You know, when you become the president, if by any chance you become a president of Kenya, it doesn't matter who fought it for you. The fact is you are a president of Kenya. So any cake that is there, you need to share it equally. So the fact that there have been leaders who have been sharing more cake to a certain region over the others is criminal by itself. And therefore,
it's the ideal situation and the reality.
And therefore, yeah, you know, that is the, you know, you cannot have fight maybe what's done wrong on the other hand, then you want to cheat on the other hand. Things that are wrong are wrong. Wait, let them give me a small time to finish it. Let me tell you one thing. We even observe some discipline of such kind of leadership. Even when Obama came to Kenya, he said it will be more good for me to come when I'm not a president, because there are things he cannot do. He will love to visit here, being a president, speak like a president, do what is expected of presidency. Okay. So therefore, what this says is
you know, I am not a spokesperson for the deputy president, and I have to tell you this as a Mount Kenya person, because I have to tell you this. You are from the Rift Valley. We cannot get our nation back to tribalism, but we cannot disown our tribe for us to fit in the national space, you know. Today, when you leave this studio and your mother calls you, they're going to speak to you to your local dialect, right? So if the deputy president goes to Marikiti and there is a woman who is 40, 60 years old and they want to engage with them, is he supposed to bring an English interpreter, you know? And again, we need to understand that even if we were to go by one man, one vote, 1 shilling, Mount Kenya region will still have its share, you know. And it's not about Mount Kenya being more superior than the Rift Valley. But I want to ask the question. If they knew Mount Kenya does not deserve, as they want to put it, that now this guy has been speaking in Kikuyu all along, this guy has been doing that, why didn't they pick a deputy president from their region, you know? Okay. It begs the question, you need to understand the political wheel of this nation. Okay. If the Mount Kenya region gave the Rift Valley guy a win, you need to respect him for who he is. And he has to engage his people anyway.
My argument was totally different. I wanted to tell Europa that it is not a coincidence that we have the number of Kikuyus in civil service and Kalenjins are slightly above their proportional numbers in population. In the Kenya Kwanza government, it is not a coincidence that we have more Kikuyus and Kalenjins holding senior positions than the Luos and the Luyas. It is not a coincidence. Politics has a way of rewarding and punishing. Because if we woke up and as Mount Kenya we voted 3 million to Kenya Kwanza government, we donated 47% of the win. The president is inclined to reward us for the support. Mm-hmm. And because Mount Kenya, in a way, has been finding itself that because of their numbers, the team they support almost always win. As a result of which, the team forms government. By extension, let me also say, it is also the same reason if Valley, especially not the Turkana part of it, but the Kalenjin part of it, is more developed than Nyanza for him to get the point home. Mm-hmm. It's because they had Moi for 24 years. Yes. And Moi took more roads to home than he did to Nyanza. And those were the evils we were trying to correct with the devolution. That said, I was answering. I don't want to take somebody else's time.
I want us to get to the... and just we're finishing up the show. I'll give you an opportunity. But I want us to look at now life post-impeachment. Let's say the impeachment is successful. Rigathi Gachagua is no longer deputy president. What happens next? We now see the alliance between ODM and Kenya Kwanza. Will ODM, because for them to click 250, they definitely needed ODM, and ODM must have voted to a man to ensure that Kenya Kwanza has those numbers. The president may be keen on still endearing himself to the mountain region and ensure, and there are people lining up for that position as well. But ODM too could say, we helped you to get to this point. That is our position.
To my thinking, is that our president will consider giving it back to Mount Kenya. And that's why a lot of allocations, even that we are hearing in this table, will come to an end, whereby that you needed Mount Kenya the other time. Now you see like we don't need us. We are just, I think the president is maybe disappointed by the character of the person who is in the position of the deputy president today, but he doesn't have a problem with the region. And
of course, he needs the votes. And anyone would.
Yeah, and of course, he's thankful for the support that he got there. Therefore, he's going to go for a person from that region, and we know that is how it's going. For the ODM or maybe the Raila team, they have been given 4 CSS that are more powerful. So there wouldn't be a lot of more appetite to ask for a deputy presidency seat, maybe in future. But for now,
we've seen ODM and any team Raila has led, and and I think was it you who talked about we know Raila and what Raila could do. We saw what he did to Kano, for example, and anything could happen. Would they be really off if they were to ask for that position of deputy president?
A greedy person is a greedy person. They will never say, no, I have enough. And I want to tell you that post-impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua will be a political mass funeral for very many politicians. First of all, the person who tables that motion in parliament, whether he will be from Rift Valley, whether he will be from the Maasai region or Mount Kenya or the coast, they will have sealed their name into the Kenyan history for life, you know. And I am very sure every MP is asking themselves, even Kimani Ichung'wah, if he's given that thing, I'm sure he will want to call a minute for himself and ask himself, am I really ready to go down into history as the member of parliament who tabled this motion? If it backfires, then what? So I want to simply say, in my own opinion, I think if the impeachment goes through, first of all, we are 100% sure 95% of that whole parliament goes down. You know, it goes to Senate, the same, you know. And at the end of the day, what happens after that is that they will want somebody who is just a yes sir, no sir, somebody who is excited about a flag, somebody who just wants to see a convoy and some security guys around him. And they have the right puppet for that, because you've seen the CS Interior tell us that somebody who died because of a stray bullet from a police officer who was trying to calm down the situation of infiltration into the demonstration is not as a result of a policeman directly shooting the guy. And now you wonder if such person has such kind of mentality and he has no remorse for the Kenyan people, as long as his boss is happy, and that is what everybody is bringing up to the rise, because we saw 48 MPs say that, you know, it's time for Kindiki to lead the Mount Kenya region into development. And now it begs the question, if they want Gachagua out, it's because they want a deputy president who has no ambitions, who has nothing to say. He's only there to enjoy the luxury, the privileges that comes to the deputy president. But I tell them, it's going to be a whole spin of the political space in Kenya. It's also going to spin the political view from the international space. Our relations everywhere will get to a very difficult situation, because the world is also watching. Remember, there are our investors out there who are watching. There are our whole neighbors, diplomacies, all our relations are at stake. So it's going to be a quick spin. And let's see who also gets, because it's a two-way sword. You slash Gachagua's head, it slashes your political career out. So let's see who gets the other side.
No. When I look at it, I want firstly to take us a little bit backwards and ask, you know, what is the best thing for Ruto? I'm a supporter of the president, and I'm looking at it and I'm saying the president won with 200,000 votes. That is after he had gotten a whole 3 million votes from Mount Kenya. And I can tell you, because Hans may not understand home like I do, that Mount Kenya is an emotive region. We vote out of emotions. Somebody would rightly say that we don't wake up to vote for our leaders, we wake up to stop infiltration of our region by what we don't consider right. And Kikuyu voters are very easy people to handle, because we don't ask for too much. And the deputy president has made serious mistakes of a novice, right? The entitlement, that of imagining he's a co-president, he should have read the constitution and understand that he has no political power other than which is ceded to him by the president. He should have been contented working with President William Ruto, because apparently there will always be wrangles in a presidency. It is how you, as a deputy president, humbles yourself, like a wise woman would do at home, secures your stay with the president. He has failed completely. And he warrants, by the way, the impeachment. If we were to do it on aggrandizement, I want to show you that I'm a man, I can kick you out. On that level, he does. But now on political calculations, it is a very serious miscalculation, in my opinion. Now, you ask what will happen if Gachagua is impeached. I want you to look at it this way. That there are three factors that, in my opinion, the president has to really consider. One is the Gen Z. They're not happy with him because of the way he has handled the affair. Mm-hmm. When they came out to express their anger, they were abducted. There was a lot of police brutality subjected to them. And even today, they are still looking for their friends. So they're not happy. And even the things the president promised them to look at, he has forgotten about them. Because now he feels secure with the support that has come with the Raila Odinga. And then there is the former president, Kenyatta, whose silence must be a source of very serious self-reflection. Why is he so silent? Why is he so indifferent? What is he cooking with his trillions and billions? Then there is another angle that we must also consider, Raila Odinga. Is Raila Odinga a man we can trust that in 2027 is not going to smell a win around the corner? Mm-hmm. What if we push Gachagua out of the house and then Gachagua finds solace in the hands of Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta? And then in 2027 we have President William Ruto on one end, with Raila Odinga now having the backup of Gachagua. But possibly if they impeach Gachagua, they are going to give us Kindiki. And I can tell you, and this I'll tell you for a fact, the people of Central Kenya are not going to take it lightly, that their seat has been given to the people of Mount Kenya West. I come from Mount Kenya East. I come from Mount Kenya. Mount Kenya East is not Mount Kenya West. And that is why you're hearing our younger brothers from Mount Kenya East telling us, you guys meant to zoea sana. We normally go to hunt together, but you get yourself the juicy part of whatever it is that we had, and we wonder. Now, with those divisions, you don't want to take a seat from Mount Kenya West, give it to Mount Kenya East, and you think you're still home. While Mount Kenya West has a chunk of like 5 million votes. If you do a conservative number of Kikuyu votes in this country, it is between 4.5 and 5. You work out your numbers. Now, why do you want to antagonize a region that is that vote rich for self-aggrandizement? In my opinion, I would advise that the president ought to really tell his guys, hey, hold on. This man might be bad, but we can still handle him while still in the house.
It will be easier.
He is not the guy you want to be out there with the possibility of reuniting with Kina Kalonzo and Odinga in 2027 and Uhuru's billions and a Gen Z that is not happy with you. You're not going to survive the juggernaut.
All right. DP Gachagua, dead man walking as D-Day is fixed. 250 or thereabout members of the National Assembly from Kenya Kwanza and Azimio have already signed the ouster petition, which means that when it comes to voting for the same in the House, they can simply marshal the numbers and be successful. But is it really a done deal? That's the question. And we'll have to wait until next week to find out what will happen. Thank you so much, Kimani Mwangi, governance expert, Njeri Kahiga, national youth leader, political party PNU, and Hans Rop, political analyst, as our analyst this morning, as we take a look at the big headlines. After the break, mental health awareness. Shiksha Arora will be in studio to conduct this conversation. And of course, it's one of those conversations that have very serious implications, especially on the younger population, coming only days after that unfortunate incident where an intern doctor at Gatundu took her own life due to issues around mental health. So yes, it is a Feel Good Friday. Later on, DJ Granite will be here to give us the best of music and trends, so do stand by for that as well. My name is Freddie Ndimuli. Have a lovely weekend.
June 2024, nationwide protests broke out in Kenya, opposing the 2024 finance bill. As the situation threatened to get out of hand, police officers were deployed to quell the unrest. Among them, Chief Inspector David Maina. Then hell broke loose. An explosive device went off, ripping off his forearms. He survives to tell the story.
I removed the pin, but there was, I don't know, there was some resistance. That pin, there was some problem when removing the pin. When it finally got off, and then I was just about to throw my stun grenade, I just saw darkness.
Join TV47's Lennox Sengre as he brings you an exclusive interview with Chief Inspector David Maina.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Welcome back. You're watching the Morning Cafe show. I am Shiksha Arora. I hope you're feeling great this Friday, because if you aren't, well, we are going to be giving you a reason to actually get your mental health intact. With me in studio, I have got two very special guests, Lucy Mwende Kariuki, a mental health advocate from Ajala Mobile, as well as Dr. David Okello, who is a Chief Medical Officer of Talia Psychotherapy. Now, remember, this is a very, very crucial, a very important topic. Mental health awareness is something that needs to be talked about, needs to be openly discussed. It is very important to have these conversations on platforms like these, where we can really just give you context behind why mental health statistics, of course, matter today, why mindfulness matters, and it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to seek help, and that's why we've got experts with us in studio. Now, remember, if you would like to be a part of this conversation, please do WhatsApp us. The number is 0793-267-279. Also, if you would like to ask any questions to our able experts in the studio, feel free to call us live on 0795-045-864. Good morning. How are you, my guests? Let us get the conversation started. Dr. how are you this morning?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good, good, thanks. And what about you, my dear? How are you, Lucy?
I'm very good.
Thank you. Thank you for being here with us as we really just talk about this topic that I feel needs all the importance because of today's current situation, today's day and age, you know, we live in times where mental health issues are increasingly getting bigger and more intense and more crucial because of how much people are suffering out there, the challenges that they go through, the struggles that they experience, just leading normal, healthy minds, right? So I'll start off with you, Dr. Daktari, Dr. David. Dr. David, we'll start off with you. Maybe you can tell us what exactly it means to have a stable, healthy mind.
Now, to have a stable, healthy mind.
Yes.
We look at three things. One is somebody's emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And another is somebody's psychological well-being.
Okay.
And another is how they relate with the society, their social
okay.
well-being.
Right.
So now when these three are in line, then one is in good mental health condition.
Mm.
When the three are not aligned, then one has a poor mental health condition.
Okay, okay. And Lucy, to you, what are some of the normal, you know, misconceptions that you hear about mental health, especially out here? People think that mental health is not really that serious of an issue. They think that if you are sick, you have to be physically sick to be able to get that sort of attention. But when you talk about mental health issues, sometimes people believe that this one is just being dramatic or really just putting on an act. So what are some of these misconceptions that people think about mental health?
The misconceptions are that some think that mental health, it's an illness that maybe is for women. Yeah, because women are relates with emotions too much.
Yes.
You know, or maybe sometimes changing. They have hormonal change. They get big, they get small, they change. So people think that maybe women are the only people who are affected, but even men. Now even children, they get affected. Or people think that only people who use drugs are the ones who get mental health disorders. But no, it's anyone, because mental health is caused by, it starts with maybe stress, stress which maybe grows to depression, and maybe which grows to other maybe lifestyle diseases or heart diseases. You see, it starts small.
A build-up.
Yeah, it starts small and it grows, and it can come anytime.
Yeah.
You know, now you are not stressed. You don't know, maybe something can happen later which will cause you to get stressed. So it can happen to anyone, whether you are working, whether you are healthy. You can have it. You cannot have it today, but maybe tomorrow you can have it. So we have to recognize and know that it's there. It can happen to anyone.
It can affect anybody.
Yeah, exactly. And we know how to manage it or how to handle it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Daktari, why is it so important in this day and age to discuss these issues that people experience, mental health issues in particular? You know, why is it so important to really just create awareness when it comes to mental health issues?
Now, in Africa, one of the major problems with mental health is it is an invisible problem.
Yes.
So people do not see it as a disease on its own, and the stigma around it makes it hard for even those who have the condition to seek care.
Right.
And
because they feel judgment. They feel like they will be judged by society.
Exactly. That is exactly what will happen when you go to the hospital and say you have a mental health condition.
Okay.
Because with mental health, you want somebody to heal, but as they heal, you also want to sort out the cause of that problem. And in most cases, it's always life stressors. So now, if these life stressors are not addressed, then the problem will not go away.
Yeah.
And you'll end up keeping somebody on antidepressants every year, but the cause of the depression it has not been sorted.
Absolutely.
And
that's just a temporary cure.
Yes.
It's not a permanent solution.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the invisibility of the problem has even reduced the financing for mental health. So you find that for African countries, WHO says that we spend an average of $0.5 per capita instead of $2. So this has resulted in few mental health professionals. In Kenya, we have about 100 psychiatrists compared to 47 million Kenyans.
Okay.
And when you tell somebody mental health, they'll see a Madari hospital will come. Yeah. And
they'll be like, why don't you just go to Madari?
Yes. And the stigma around it is what they will see. So those who have the condition will not be willing to open up.
Okay.
Minister of Health told us that before COVID, 1 in 10 had a mental health condition.
Right.
And after COVID, this wasn't. So we really need to raise awareness so that more people can actually seek the help they need instead of dying slowly.
Okay. Lucy, what are some of the early signs that someone might be suffering with a mental health issue?
You know, mental health affects how someone speaks, behave, or thinks. So if you start seeing a change in a person in behavior, now that's now the first sign. Change in behavior, and then maybe followed with isolation, maybe lack of appetite. You see, maybe
just staying at home all day in the dark.
That isolation,
procrastination.
It's that way. Then it grows. Maybe to, you know, maybe some people when they are in those situations, maybe they start taking drugs. You know, people think that some people use drug to deal with mental health, which is not good, because what drugs does, it suppress it. It's like hide. It's hiding. It gives you these happy feelings, and
it masks the problem.
And you feel you are okay. But what you are doing, you are just storing it. So if you continue having issue, you'll continue storing, and it reaches a point where now the drug maybe doesn't work. Maybe now someone has to go to rehab. So if you start seeing change in behavior, like someone doesn't bath, doesn't eat, is isolating, loneliness. Now, those are the early signs of mental health.
Daktari, how has the conversation for mental health changed over the years? How has it evolved, especially here in Kenya? Back in the day, as we do know, the stigma was very much present. And I feel like now things are better. People are understanding that there is an issue at hand. There's an issue that we really need to get to the bottom of. But yes, a lot still needs to be done. But maybe you can tell us, through the years, what are some of the changes that we've seen?
Yeah, true. A lot still needs to be done. But through the years, people have been more accepting of mental health as a condition. However, the prevalence of mental health conditions has also been increasing over the years.
Of course.
And with insurance coming in, before we were not seeing them financing mental health conditions. But today we are seeing them coming in. Though it is not yet there, but at least this conversation has started. And if inclusive insurance can also come in so that even the poor and vulnerable are able to access mental health services, then that would be great. And as technology also evolves, artificial intelligence is also coming into mental health. And at Thalia Psychotherapy, we are integrating mental health into everyday life through artificial intelligence. So through our Mindful Kenya platform, one is able to access mental health screening, and based on the screening results, they are able to access the therapy they need. We are also advocating for alternative therapies. We do understand that when you approach somebody with mental health as a topic, they would not be so open to it.
Of course.
And with the traditional health system, when they see mental health, they'll see antipsychotics, antidepressants, and the community is not so open to that at the moment, because those medicines are not like paracetamol and ibuprofen for headache. So we are also, at Thalia, we're also exploring alternative therapies so that we can make this topic as homely as possible for all persons in Africa. So we are exploring things like music, we are exploring things like culinary therapy. So these alternative therapies have been proven to be very beneficial in managing mental health and even reducing the cost of managing mental health.
Okay. Now, Lucy, what stage does it get to where a person, individual, actually now needs to seek for help? You know, we do know right now therapy is very, very common in Kenya. Lots of people have openly spoken about, that I get therapy, I get help, I go here to a counselor, I have a friend who does it. So I feel like people are having more conversations about it.
Yeah.
Therapy back in the day was something that we didn't want to discuss with our peers or our family members, that, wow, I'm actually going for therapy.
Yeah.
But nowadays we're having these conversations amongst the youth especially. People are talking even online that, I'm going for therapy. Social media influencers, celebrities. But like to what extent do you need to feel, mentally to be able to now say, okay, now I need therapy?
Before I answer you, I think we have to create a lot of awareness, because you can't know if you don't know. You can't know if you don't know. I like giving example. For example, if you have like flu, you know that I can take ginger and lemon, and then maybe I mix. There's
a solution for it.
Yeah, that's a common knowledge. Everyone knows it. So even in mental health, it's supposed to be that way. We are supposed to know. Because the way I've told you, it's something that can occur. You don't have it now, maybe you have it
out of the blues.
Yeah, and it comes and goes. So it's something that is on and off. So you have to know how to manage it.
Yes.
Okay, a bit of my story. I'm a content creator.
Okay.
I'm a stand-up comedian.
Amazing.
Yeah, I started. And in my space, when I started, my name grew so much, but my pocket didn't. Yeah, my pocket was. So you can imagine that life of trying to live a celebrity.
Yes.
But you are not able to. So I learned a lot, and I learned that at least it's good to be realistic.
Yeah.
Let's be realistic.
Yeah.
Accept where you are. Be positive. Accept things as they are and be positive. If you start knowing these things and how to handle mental illness, you'll know. If you see yourself now, you are starting feeling like lonely.
Yeah.
You don't want to open. You have an issue that you feel that you don't want to open up, or you are feeling that you'll be judged and it's stressing you. Maybe your productivity is not the same as usual. Maybe your weight has maybe increased or even maybe reduced. Those are the signs. You know that I need to do something. You'll know that I need to do something or I need help. Now that's where you choose what to do, because you can talk to a trusted person. A person, maybe some choose like pastors, but in sometimes you can find that the pastor is the one who is in the wrong. So so who are you to tell? So that's where we come in as Ajala Mobile. Ajala Mobile, it's an app and it's an anonymous app.
I've actually heard of Ajala.
Yeah. So how it works, you don't give your number or your details, so you can speak freely.
Whatever you want.
Yeah, without the fear of being judged.
And is there any charge?
Yeah. But it's very affordable.
Okay.
Because 1 shilling, one shilling a minute per call. Okay. Also 1 shilling for SMS, and also 100 shillings for unlimited SMS and calls.
Okay.
Yeah, registration is only 250.
Okay.
But we are going to launch it on 3rd of next month.
Okay.
After we launch it, it will be now 3,500 registration. But for now, it's 250.
Okay.
And when you register, now it's free. Now chatting or talking. Also, we have a browser. That is www.ajala.us, or also you can get the app through *702*34#. You get the app. So it's very affordable because you can use it through browser or anywhere. You can get the app, or you can use the text or chat or call. And it's very anonymous, very confidential.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Lucy. Now remember, this conversation continues online as well. On Facebook, you can find us at TV47 Kenya. Today, we're asking you, when is the last time you checked up on your family and friends? When is the last time you called someone and asked them, are you okay? As we spread awareness on mental health issues. So we've got a message on Facebook, and this is from Ace Victor. And Victor says, we are made up of different parts, some good, some bad. A healthy mind can tolerate this ambivalence and juggle both good and bad at the same time. And mental illness is precisely about a lack of this kind of integration. We end up losing contact with the unacceptable parts of ourselves. Daktari, I think that's a very nice, interesting way to package the thoughts about what mental health really is. And what do you think? why are people having mental health issues at this very moment in life? You know, we're in a digital age, there's societal pressure, there's online pressure, there's pressure at work, there's pressure at home, relationships, pressure kila mahali. The pressure is on the rise. So do you think this is one of the reasons why people are really struggling to be sane, to keep sane?
The pressures of life will always increase.
Yeah.
And,
compared to what our parents went through, our grandparents went through,
They'll always be there.
Things now are so different.
yes, things are so different. And as the pressures of life increase,
Yes.
the solutions are not increasing. So, for example, as the jobs go down, unemployment is increasing, but employment opportunities are not increasing. So when somebody is down with the depression,
Yes.
but on top of the depression there is also no job, then definitely things are going to get worse. And as mental health has always been an issue ever since, but it is today that awareness about it is being increased, so people are getting more open to talk about it.
Yeah.
Before, in the 90s, even in the 2000s, when you talk about mental health, people see you as crazy, and the term crazy was more of an insult.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when somebody is trying to seek help but he's already been insulted, then the person will die with their problem.
Yes.
But in the digital age, technology is making it possible for people to talk about it.
Yes.
And as we talk about it, it would be great if more homegrown solutions would be adopted by the people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Daktari, you know, when do you know, obviously you are a doctor, you have the knowledge about when now to start prescribing medicines to people who are suffering with mental issues. So at what stage does it need to get to now before you start prescribing something like a antidepressant, for instance, or a sleeping pill? So like, when do you get to that stage?
Now, when somebody can no longer function in normal life, then you will have to put in medication to assist the person. Yeah, because if somebody can no longer have the energy to wake up to go to work,
and this has been going on for a while.
Yeah, and it has been going on for a while, then you will now have to bring in medication.
Okay.
If it gets to a point of psychosis, and somebody is now seeing and hearing things that everybody else is not witnessing, then now you will have to bring in medication.
Voices in your head.
Yes. So when things become bad, you will have to bring in medication.
Okay.
However, when...
and these are not available over the counter, right?
No, they're not over the counter.
They have to be prescribed by a medical personnel.
Yes. However, when things are still in the early stages, things can always be managed by counseling and therapy. So we are advocating for the preventive approach, where we come in early instead of waiting till somebody is down in the depths.
Yeah.
That's when you want to start rehabilitating.
Yeah. Now, Lucy, I'm sure you heard of the story about the medical intern who took her life after a 36-hour shift just recently. This was a few days ago. She obviously was probably underpaid, she was overworked, and yeah, she ended it with suicide. So how exactly do people stay resilient in times like this, in times where, you know, you don't want to take your life, you don't want to talk about suicide, obviously, you don't want to get there. So what would you tell someone who is going through it in a way that they're thinking about such a thing, they're thinking about suicide, they're thinking about taking their own life? How would you tell this person to stay resilient in such tough times?
I'm sure the way we were made with the capability to be able to handle anything that comes our way. We all have that capability in us. That's why we are supposed to be mentally healthy to remain with that thing that makes us fight. So when someone is depressed, he loses that thing. So when the will, yeah. So when you start maybe speaking to that person, you will know by the words, you will know the thoughts. You can even maybe ask them, what do you want to achieve, or what do you want? You will know. You will get there. You will know what's the problem. You will know, and when you will know, you'll be able to to help this person now see things in another dimension, or maybe help him to think, you know, this person, if you see someone feeling that he wants to be suicidal or kill himself, he lacks a solution. He's like he has lacked solution in him or in her. So by talking or by speaking, and maybe he has no one maybe to open to.
I was actually going to get to that. You know, it's very important to have a really strong family and friend circle. People who can hold you accountable, people who can talk to you, people who you can actually open up to, and who understand what you're going through. So I feel like in certain situations, they don't have that base, the foundation of family and friends.
Yeah, so that's where we come in. You know, to us, it's all about you.
Yeah.
It's not about me, it's about you. So I'm there to help you. Like he has said, it depends with where you are.
Yeah.
How mental health is treated is in two ways. It's medical and non-medical. So when it becomes medical, it's when it's worse. It's worse now. Maybe you have lost a lot of weight. You have no appetite. You are supposed to be given maybe vitamins or things. You see, it's that bad. But if it's not that bad, speaking up will help you.
Okay.
Because we will be able to understand where this problem is coming from. We go to the depth of it and then maybe help you solve it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or I know it's in you. You know that thing it's always in you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Daktari, you mentioned AI and how technology is really changing to be able to deal with mental health issues better. So what are some of these advances that the medical field has seen in the past few years when it comes to treating mental health issues rather?
For mental health issues, the AI technology we are using, we have two. We have one is the app, which has a set of screening questions.
Okay.
And based on the screening questions, one is able to get results. And depression, anxiety, we have the different questionnaires required.
Okay.
Then we also have the Ajala that she has just mentioned. And with Ajala, we are integrating AI into the voice service.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah, so that when one is talking, AI is able to pick up depression and anxiety.
Through the voice?
Yes, through
the voice. That is amazing.
Yeah, so that once you're done talking with somebody anonymously, you also have a complete diagnosis and you have a way forward to assist the person.
Yeah. Lucy, as we wrap up, what are some of the things you'd like to say to this generation, millennials, Gen Zs, of course, even under that, to the younger generation and the youth on how they can handle mental health issues and how they can maneuver the way they're feeling and their thoughts?
Yeah. Okay, one thing, there's a saying we always say in our group that what happens to you is 10%, but how you react to it is 90% you.
Very well said, yeah.
Yeah, so understanding that, first of all, you'll be able to, with that knowledge, you'll be able to handle yourself. Another thing is now, let's practice mental health wellness.
Okay.
By eating right. We eat right, like balanced diet, drink a lot of water, and avoid things like salt, table salt. You know, salt absorbs water in your body.
Yes.
Yeah, and it also causes diseases like, you know, the goiter.
Of course.
Yeah, so we avoid things like salt. We have time for ourselves. We always have a break. Always have a break. Have your time to rest, not with phone or maybe watching, just your time to rest. Resting time.
Meditation.
Yeah, maybe meditation, or if you can do those, or even yoga, exercise. You see, learn when to say no. Learn when to say no. Like, no, I can't. Like, learn how to say no. Be realistic. Yeah, be realistic, be positive.
Okay.
Be positive always. Yeah, with that I'm sure you'll you'll be good to go.
You'll be good
yeah.
to go.
Yeah.
All right, lovely. That was a great conversation. Thank you so much for being here, right? We really appreciate your time, your presence, and of course your expertise when it comes to mental health awareness. And of course that is Dr. David Okello, Chief Medical Officer, Talia Psychotherapy, and also Lucy Mwende Kariuki, Mental Health Advocate at Ajala Mobile. You've been watching TV47. I am Shiksha Aurora. This is a beautiful Friday, bright and sunny. Sunny and sunshine. I'm enjoying the fact that it's quite nice outside. The weather is brilliant. So remember, we continue right here. It's a Friday. And of course, DJ Granite is on the decks. We'll be talking about the top trending topics. We'll also be taking in some of your requests. So please do feel free to get in the Friday fever. Remember, the WhatsApp number is 0793267279. Get those requests in, talk to us, tell us what you want to listen to, and Granite will be definitely playing all your favorite requests. So that's going to be coming up right after this short break. Don't go anywhere. I am Shiksha Aurora.